through the window. The sun was slowly setting, so the white walls were washed with the most amazing colors of the day. Elizabeth's house was large, along with the vast amounts of land her parents had bought for her, Ian and Charlotte to play and run in. Sorry about that. Okay. The Burbank family was very wealthy, so the grass was always neatly trimmed and vibrant green. The gardens had the healthiest daisies and roses, and the trees were arranged perfectly so they blocked the neighbors. The Burbank family lived in one of the rich neighborhoods in New York, so many of the manors and houses, including Elizabeth's, were taken over by gardeners, planters, maids, and butlers. As Elizabeth walked into her home, she saw her mother sitting in one of the comfy chairs in the main living room. In her mom's lap, Elizabeth's 2-year-old sister, Charlotte, sat. The siblings looked very similar, with curious green eyes and wavy brown hair. Elizabeth, her mother welcomed, looking at her with warm brown eyes. Elizabeth sat down on her knees next to her parent and leaned over to kiss her sister's forehead. Charlotte giggled and buried her head in her mother's shoulder. "Your dinner is in the kitchens. If you stay out any longer, the chefs will be asleep," her mother joked. Mom eased herself out of the chair, setting Charlotte down on the couch. She brushed her dark hair gently to the side and stretched. "I know," Elizabeth sighed, feeling a ting of truth in the witticism. Wow, it's just, well, did you know that one of those little birds from the nest? I put it back, of course, but I was thinking that I could start a group or something to save the animals and such. It would be great fun, I think." Elizabeth was speaking a million miles per hour. Luckily, before she could continue, her 15-year-old brother stepped in. "Stop ranting, Eliza. We get it. You go outside," Ian said. Charlotte ran behind him, hugging his leg. "Be nice, you two," their mother said. Yeah, Ian muttered. "You're just jealous. You couldn't plant a seed if someone showed you a million times." Elizabeth snapped, glaring. As Elizabeth walked away, she heard her mother sigh and scoop up Charlotte. "No, I don't want to go to bed. Mommy, no." Oh, God, Elizabeth thought. Here comes another temper tantrum. When Elizabeth got to the kitchens, she saw a steaming plate of steak, corn, rice, and a small roll on a plate. She grabbed it and started to walk to her bedroom. It was up on the second floor, so she had to walk up the large spiral staircase in the grand room. Elizabeth could see her reflection in the marble floor, her 5'1" figure, simple black dress, and brown leather shoes. Sighing, she trudged up the stairs. Elizabeth always wished she was older. She would never have to listen to Ian or Mom, and she could live in a home all by herself. Soon enough, she came upon her room. Before she could open the door, she heard a faint, small, ticking noise. Slowly, she set her plate down on a nearby side table. A mouse? Or maybe a bird, she thought, but it was too dark to tell. She turned her head to pinpoint the noise. Then she heard it again, a scratching noise, but this time louder. Carefully, Elizabeth sank down onto her knees. Picking off a piece of roll, she whispered softly, "Here, little critter, I won't hurt you, I want to help you." She waddled over to where she saw the most movement and let out a "aha" when she found it. A rat, but not any rat she'd ever seen. When she saw its face, she jumped back in horror. Now, rats aren't very scary, gross, sure, ugly, sort of, but this monster was not a rat. It was midnight black with pieces of skin hanging off. Its eyes were crimson, like it had just cried blood. It ran off, leaving Elizabeth disgusted. Not before she realized that when she had ran back in fear, as one does whenever they see whatever it was, she had gotten herself into a random supply closet or something. She just wanted to get out, so Elizabeth got up, brushed herself off, and took a deep breath. She still had a small bread piece in her hand, but it was covered in her sweat. She dropped it quickly. The image of the hideous thing raced through her mind, but she pushed it out of the way. Elizabeth started to tug at the doorknob, but it was jammed. Thoughts of fear and anxiety crept through her mind, and she felt the tears swell in her eyes. There's always a feeling you get, right at the pit of your stomach, a dark, hollow sensation that spreads to every part of your body. It's like your old human instincts telling you, get out, run, something bad is about to happen. That's what Elizabeth felt, times 100. After a couple of minutes in the struggle in the dark, Elizabeth realized that this door is not just jammed, it was sealed. "Mom, Ian!" she screamed. Silence. Ian was known to play pranks, but this, no matter how many times Elizabeth told herself that he would pop out somewhere and laugh at her, call her a baby, and never let it go, she knew in the bottom of her heart that this was not Ian at all. So, Elizabeth spun around, quiet tears dripping off her cheeks. Maybe there's a little door at the end of the room, she thought, but knew it was far from the truth. The room, which now that Elizabeth thought about it, was never there before, was only about the size of her and Charlotte together. When she was all the way turned around, feeling the walls for a small compartment or something, the door creaked open slowly. The hairs on Elizabeth's neck stood up tall as she moved her head, whole body trembling. It was now wide open, but nobody was there. Getting up from the ground, she poked her head up from the closet. As much as she wanted to keep her feet planted on the floor, hoping to soon wake up in her bed, that was not ideal. As Elizabeth stepped out of the room, she noticed that she was a lot taller, skinnier, and stronger. What happened? Her and the house had changed, apparently, because everything was coated in dust. Suddenly, a wave of some absolutely horrid scent hit her like a hammer. The smell made Elizabeth gag continuously until she had to leave the room. Unfortunately, not before she saw where the smell came from. In that moment, she was thankful for the dim lights because nobody should have to see it. Her dinner, the steak, corn, rice, and roll, it all melted. What? And someone poured acid for it to marinate in and flushed it all down the toilet, then was stepped on with some shoes caked in mud. Elizabeth was about to puke. Luckily, she managed to slam the door and race to the nearest room, a bathroom. She clicked on the light, but it sputtered and died. All the light left in the small room was from the window, but it was only around dawn because she could only see sunrises above the other houses. Elizabeth put her head in her hands and let the tears come out. What is going on? Where's my family? She let her mind race until it spun out of control. When she tried to turn on the faucet to wash her face, the rusted metal was stuck in place. Sighing, she looked up and saw herself, and it confused and terrified her all at the same time. Instead of her 5'1" frame, she was 5'7" now. Her face was sharper and leaner, her hair was longer, and she was at least 20. Elizabeth shrieked and ran down the staircase until she had to stop and breathe. Her breath was deeper too, as well as her voice. Elizabeth would have to run more until her legs broke and she couldn't move a muscle, but she spied a newspaper. A single newspaper sitting on the front step right in front of the front door. Elizabeth raced to it, swinging open to snatch it. The title sent shock down Elizabeth's spine. In big, bold letters it said, 10 years later, Elizabeth Buckmore is still missing. As she read on, she saw the faces of her family. Her mother, who would be 45, Ian, who would be 25, Charlotte, who would be only 12, and even her father, who was on a work trip when Elizabeth was only 10. She hugged the paper to her chest and looked around in despair. She missed them so much. Elizabeth was lost somewhere in the future, alone, scared, and without anybody to help her. One phrase ran through her mind: be careful what you wish for.
Wow! Sadie! Sadie, nice job! Nice job, Reed.